Okay, great. So it's another great episode of the Legacy Lounge podcast. Today, I have for a special guest, Dr. Michael Murphy. We're going to talk a little bit about burnout today. We're going to talk about just getting into it, what causes it, how can we prevent it, how can we ease ourselves during this process. I know we were talking a little bit before we started recording and just having a great conversation. I love your mindset, where you're at, the things that you're doing in the community. So Dr. Michael, introduce yourself, let the audience know some things about you. Anything you want to share, the floor is yours. Feel free.
All right, cool. Well, hey man, once I just want to appreciate you, Commissioner, for having me on your show. Had a great opportunity to speak with you as well, get a better understanding of this process. And I'll tell you, my name is Dr. Michael Anthony Murphy. I'm a double-boarded child and adolescent psychiatrist, corrective exercise specialist, and most importantly, a child of God, right? I'm my formal education, graduated from Florida A&M University with a chemistry degree. University of Florida is where I went to the College of Medicine. And then I did a fellowship as well as my residency in general psychiatry and fellowship in child and adolescent psychiatry at the University of Virginia. And so I'm right now stationed out of the Hampton Roads area where I work 100% telehealth for a group called Talkiatry, licensed in New York, DC, Maryland, as well as Virginia. And in addition to doing the telehealth, I'm also working on establishing my own outside business, which is Leo Ascension. And it's a website set up where I'm giving people information in regards to how to really get into the wellness, right? It's Leo Ascension, which is lessons in empowering and overcoming, teaching you how to reach your God-given potential through utilization of mental, physical, and spiritual health, right? In addition, we like to tap on financial health as well. And so site just started. I'll have a podcast coming out in September. And of course, people can follow me on TikTok and Instagram, Dr. Michael Anthony Murphy. I always tell people, give them your real name. That way they know who you are, right? In addition, if you're on Instagram, it'll stop you from liking stuff you shouldn't be liking.
Hey, you said lessons in empowering and overcoming, man. That's powerful. That is powerful.
Well, you want to ascend to your highest level.
Yeah.
And I've been doing psychiatry and working in this field for over 20 years. And in those years, you garner a lot of experience and knowledge, especially when you work with both child and adolescent as well as adults. Some people I've worked with from the time they were 5 till, they're in the 20s. And so the goal is to bring a better understanding of the integration of mental, physical, spiritual, as well as financial health, because there's always been a disconnect, particularly within the Black community, man. I remember going places where, the pastor who would say how proud they are of what you've accomplished would then turn around and tell the congregation, if many of y'all prayed and paid your tithe, then you wouldn't have to go see all these psychiatrists and doctors and things like that. And, so it's important that we focus on understanding the integration. And I really love to speak on those things. And you'll be seeing me coming out with a couple of projects in the very near future, because I want to spread that type of knowledge and education to the people.
Okay, man, that's a good bit to chew on, and I appreciate you sharing all of that, because I know that's definitely some things that the people need, and I know with the companies and the businesses that we're building, especially on the financial side, right. I know we always focus on what we call the 5 F's: faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. So that kind of goes well in hand with all of the things that you're talking about. Yeah. But I know today specifically, we wanted to talk about burnout.
Man,
a lot of my clients, they're always like stressed, like my job, and we working for money, and there's not enough, and then I'm always got to work more hours and things like that, and then you got the quiet quitting, as they say, people quitting their job. So I'm going to pass this to you. Just like tell us a little bit about it. Share your thoughts on it. Like, give us a clear definition of what it is, sure, and what we could do.
Well, you know what? I can tell you on this because I've been there, right? As I'm now starting where I am, 3-4 years ago, I was in a different spot. I hit burnout. I had to take a break, sabbatical. You know, that's when you save up a little money before you quit, right? You don't have to let go.
Yeah.
Right? I had to take a step out on faith, and that led me to where I am right now. So it's understanding that sometimes that can be part of the process. But what we're seeing now, I think of it in this terms, right? We talk mental, physical, spiritual, financial health.
Yeah.
I think of burnout as all inclusive, right? It's going to hit every aspect of what you're dealing with. When you're coming up, when it comes to the mental aspect of it, it can increase depression, anxiety, substance use, the things people sort of find themselves dabbling in to escape the pressure and the stress that you speak about when it comes to how that money ain't coming in like it's supposed to. If you already have a pre-existing psychiatric illness, then burnout makes that even worse. It exacerbates the ongoing symptoms because from a physical standpoint, you have problems with eating right. You maybe find yourself eating too much fast food or late at night because you're working those long hours and the options aren't always there for something healthy, and then you're not sleeping well. And when you're not sleeping well, then what happens? Well, low energy means that we're going to eat more because food gives you energy, right? But we're not burning as much energy because stress and things like that they burn energy, but not calories, right? Those calories getting stored. And so all of a sudden you keep putting on weight, and then that increases the risk of diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol, strokes, things that we deal with later on in life, in part because of the lifestyle we live when we function in a consistent state of somewhat being on the edge of burnout. In addition, you're working all the time, but you're not getting good physical activity in. And so we start having those physical declines. And then the spiritual component, right? You got to remember, man, rest is a spiritual principle. And when you're in the sense of getting burnt out, you're not really resting. You're not taking care of yourself. And, Jesus rested. God rested. What makes us think that somehow we don't have to rest in this process? And so the connection, right? I always, as we were speaking earlier, mental, physical, spiritual health is your connection with God and God's creations. And so when you're dealing with burnout, you'll find an effect on that too. All of a sudden, you're not there for your family because you're always there working and you're trying to bring that money in. And so a person to find themselves, in a sense, losing connection with the whole purpose that we go out there as men, particularly, but also allow the women out there who are taking care and contributing well to their household. We're all trying to bring something to the table, but we forget the purpose because they demand so much, right? So and the biggest aspect, of course, is while many things can lead to burnout, right? Lifestyles, commitments, relationships. The number one issue for a lot of people is financial stress and the issues that go on within the workplace.
Yeah.
So when we then want to talk about how we prevent that, because that's a big thing, right? That's a global dysfunction that a person is going through. And it's a process. It doesn't always happen overnight, but there are moments where you'll see a rapid decline in a person's functioning, someone who's functionally doing well. So we then want to look at how can we really balance some of these things out? Well, you got to reestablish the balance in your mental, spiritual, and physical life, right? The first thing you need to do is consider taking some time off. Now, I was blessed because I call it sabbatical.
Mm-hmm.
Sabbatical is when you've been blessed enough to be able to put some money aside. I know a lot of people, we still live in that perpetual having to get it. And many times the lifestyle that we lead leads to the point where we can't truly take a full break from what we have to do to establish. So there's things that you can start doing from the get-go, right? Begin by establishing a good work-life boundary. Make sure that you actually leave work at a certain time so that you can dedicate time for your family. You want to begin scheduling your time. Most of us just get a list of stuff and I'm going to just get it done, right?
Yeah.
But really, if you put things on a schedule time with your work, schedule time with your family, schedule time for your rest. It's important that we prioritize those type of things such that we can begin to then dedicate the time we need to all those other aspects of our lives that many times can get taken away from us in the process of reaching burnout. So all of a sudden I can sleep a little better. Okay, now I need to go ahead and make sure I take some time to get physical activity in, right? At least 30 minutes, 3 times a week. You want to take the time to then cook for yourself, pack your lunch, prepare your things such that you're eating better, that you're moving better, that your flow is better. Those things are crucial, but more importantly too, take the time to get your finances in order, right? One of the things that leads to burnout is that feeling of not having enough. So what you got to do is learn to make sure you step back and get a good budget, right? Schedule and get a budget. You want to know how much of your money is going out so that you can establish an appropriate sense of security so that you're not feeling as stressed in order to meet demands. And many times, lots of that can come from living a lifestyle that's above what you need to actually live, but you get caught up in because you feel you've earned it, right?
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
one of the biggest sales things we do to ourselves, you think about this. You go to a car, and you want to go buy a car. Tell the man how much to pay for a car. He'll show you a car, and then he'll say, "Man, that's nice, but I want you to check out this car over here. Don't you deserve to be in something this nice? Don't you believe you work so hard that you've earned to live this kind of lifestyle?" And a lot of people can get caught up in that, and that can get us buying things that we don't really need. Trust me, I gave a car back one time, right?
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I said, listen, I love this Mercedes, but the upkeep, right?
Yeah.
Every time you drive by that shop, they wanted 1,500, 20. Like, no, listen, is that really reasonable in regards to an appropriate way to manage your money? And for me at that time, it wasn't. And so it was time to tighten that budget, get myself together, make sure I could secure the things I needed to secure. And once you take that stress off, life gets a lot better, right? Schedule the time with the family, budget your money, you budget your time, right? That's how you want to flow with things. And I think if you can take the time off, if not, also consider getting some type of counseling or therapy if you need help, right? You don't always know how to ask for something if you don't need you need it, right? I can't ask for it if I don't know I need it. Some people don't realize they need better financial literacy.
Yeah.
Some people don't realize they need better health choices. Some people don't understand these things, and then we want pride to maybe stop us from asking because I can't let people know that I'm not maintaining this image that I'm trying to put up in regards to my ability to maintain all these things. Not to mention, for a lot of people, they deal with stress that other people don't have to deal with, right? I will say this, as a doctor, I was cushioned from certain things, but I know there are other people in the workplace who have to deal with all types of harassment, right? We all deal with something. There's racism in the workplace. There's other harassment. There's a reason that minorities go through more stress than other people sometimes, and that can be problematic within the community, within the home. It can be a mess. And so if you can take a break, it's great. When you can't, start beginning by taking those first steps. Look at a schedule, budget your time, budget your money, focus on improving your spiritual life when possible. In addition, and it's always possible, because remember this, you ain't got to go nowhere to pray. You ain't got to go nowhere to pray.
Yeah.
You can pray at any given moment. And I think it's important because that spiritual hold, sometimes with the understanding that God's got you, despite what your circumstances look like, can be enough to pull you through, man. Right? I've had those financial hits at times, and trust me, I get worried. We all got levels of security. Some people need to have 6 months in the bank. Some people need 6 weeks. Some 6 days. Some, as long as they check don't bounce by 6 o'clock, they good. So we all different, right? That's why I tell people it's hard to really gauge financial health because you have the right to know how much you need in order to feel secure. I can't tell you what you need, right? As a matter of fact, I tell people, I make sure I go out and get educated because I recognize that financial stressors are a big contributor to many issues that go on that can lead to not only depression and anxiety, but significant arguments and confrontations within the home. I've seen financial issues break homes, right? And I tell you what, if you're a man, if you want to know the fastest way to decrease your net worth, get a divorce. Right?
Yeah. It's the like two of the biggest wealth destroyers is divorces and cars. So I always tell people, buy a used car and stick with your first spouse.
Yeah. We're supposed to enjoy the wife of our youth.
Yeah.
It's biblical principle, and sometimes it makes more than just sense, right? It's that understanding. So no, these are the things I found, and just to tell you a little bit of what I had to do, I had to get myself back right. I had to come back to my family and say, you know what? I realized that in my attempts to say I was trying to take care of y'all, I wasn't really here to provide the type of support that's really going to take care of y'all. Right?
Man, you gotta unpack that a little bit. That's deep.
Right? Well, the Bible asks, how can anyone enter a strong man's house and take away his belongings unless he first ties up the strong man? That's a paraphrase of the verse. I don't want you to think of misquoting anything.
Mm-hmm.
Don't misquote the Bible, right? You never want to put your words in God's mouth. Right? So it's the idea of then we have to be present in the home. And for many of us growing up, we may have grown up around fathers, grandfathers, uncles who were always out there working. And so they weren't always present within the home. And so then we get older and we think, you know what? I'm a good provider because I'm going out there and doing this. But man, you want to be more present in the home, right? Hey, my father was there a lot. He also was one of those people, man. He was working 2, 3, 4 jobs at a time, man. And he taught us how to be hard workers. And so we learned how to make money, but I didn't learn how to make my money make money.
Yeah.
And that causes stresses for a lot of people, and so getting that literacy where you can understand how, even if I ain't got but a little bit, that little bit can do something for me while I'm sleeping.
Yes.
Right. And those are lessons that we don't always teach ourselves. But hey, when I took that time off, that's one of the things I really focused on getting into. I'm like, I'm going to read these things. I'm going to take control over my retirement. I'm going to learn things about financial literacy. I'll tell you what, the Richest Man in Babylon, I've read it twice.
Oh yeah, that's a great book.
Man, great book. Great book. Banks used to hand that out to people for pamphlets, and then they realized we can make a lot more money off of you all by simply selling y'all this. Selling you the services, as opposed to telling you how you can really be appropriate and how to manage your money, because that's how it was passed out. It was passed out as 6 things. I had a man, he was 82 years old. I ran to him at the gym, and he's the one who told me about the book. Man, I wish somebody handed me this book when I was in my 20s.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Speaking of like that, going out and providing, because talking to a lot of men, you hit the nail right on the head, where it's just like, oh, I got to go out and provide, and I got to keep grinding. And sometimes I have to take a step back, and even talking to friends, family, peers, associates, I'm like, man, if you keep grinding, you're just gonna grind yourself into a fine powder. There ain't gonna be nothing left of you but dust. Like,
Right.
I'm one of the hardest workers I know, but at the same time, it's just like having conversations like this. So then it's a mirror to me to be like, hey man, sometimes you need to, relax.
Well, it's like you say, even if you ain't in competition, there's still peer pressure. It's the same, man. It's like we still, it's like you can say, hey, I run this solo race and I'm only worried about me, and that sounds great, right? But since the first day you had a report card, you've been comparing yourself to somebody, right? And then you think about the fact that you also want to recognize that there's a part of us that always wants to believe we have some potential within us.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like I tapped out. And I definitely don't want to feel like I didn't fulfill my potential. So I found out for me, it wasn't so much that I'm trying to live a life like somebody else, so I'm going out spending money recklessly and all that kind of stuff. I wasn't those type of things, right? Right? Hey, no, don't get me wrong. I could have probably got by with a Chevy instead of a Mercedes. I wanted that car. I had a Honda CRV for about 15 years with 333,000 miles on it. This was the first car I brought it used, though. Right? You're right. The car, biggest thing. You drive it off the lot, loses 30%, and it continues to deteriorate from there on to where 5 years later, a bank don't even want to give you a loan on it. But people don't think like that, right? I had to learn that the hard way. Right? That's sort of the presence of being there, the having to reset myself, the understanding how you got to educate yourself on things to get yourself out of these traps, the recognition that we do have this potential, but that potential needs to be that I can spread enough time and energy to everything so that I can meet everybody's needs to include my own. I got to be able to be disciplined enough to do what I have to do to have self-care. So then if I'm taking care of myself and I'm a healthy man, I can chase the wealth as long as I stay healthy. And healthy means having healthy relationships. That means as long as I'm here with my children and I'm right, I can find a way to not so much have to put in more effort, but maybe become more efficient.
Yeah.
Right. These are things that we need to recognize. Like you mentioned, I can't work but so much every day and give even too much of myself because I need to restore myself. And we slave ourselves sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? And unfortunately, we are also children of a generation that actually did put in way more work physically than we had to. And so they may not also understand why you need that rest. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's interesting because it reminds me of something that somebody told me a while ago where they was saying the difference between service and sacrifice. They were saying when you're serving people, you're doing it from the overflow of who you are. There's more than enough of you that you can share and you can give to other people, and it's not necessarily draining you. But then sacrifice is kind of like your cup is not fully filled, and you're trying to pour into other people, and it's really draining the bit that you have because you haven't really refueled and filled up yourself.
Yeah, I'll tell you what happens too. So I'm a Black double boarded psychiatrist, and I spent lots of years working in residential facilities. And there'd be a lot of kids in there who've had multiple hospitalization, things like that. And many times they'd want somebody to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And they've gone through a life where people didn't talk to them. And I found myself overextending myself, not only in that realm, but also when I dealt in my own private practice. And you'd have mothers who needed their son to have a conversation about something. And so my schedule was always packed, man. But the one thing I wasn't doing was being home with my kids, teaching them the things I needed to teach them.
Wow.
And it comes sometimes because you say to yourself, man, there's so much of a need of something that I can bring to the table that you spread yourself too thin. And when you begin to spread yourself too thin, you also then run the risk of becoming frustrated with the individuals who you're trying to help because you're no longer coming from that place of service. Now that service has shifted over to sacrifice, and you find yourself getting irritable with the individuals who actually you went into this to show the love to the most. And then when you come home and your kid has had a bad day at school, you want to go off on them with the recognition that maybe if you spent more time at home teaching them how to behave on a good day, but also being able to reward them on those good days, he wouldn't think he had to act like some of the other people you see in order to get the type of attention that he needs. And see, those are things that really, trying to be too much for everybody.
Yeah.
Not being enough for yourself. And eventually you grind yourself out.
Yeah, man. You made me think of some of the reasons why I do what I do in this business and more importantly how I do it. Like especially thinking about young kids and the parents coming home stressed out, overworked, underpaid, a kid just being a kid, and then that could turn into all types of abuse, physical, emotional, all of that, and the child doesn't understand like, oh, my parents are just stressed.
Right.
They to them, to the parent, it's just another Tuesday. It's just another Wednesday. It's just another day. But to that child, that is like a moment, a defining moment in their life.
Man, kids have gotten way more expensive too, though.
Yeah.
My son went to a kid's birthday party, and I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I brought my friend a gift. I'm like, how much you spend on it? Oh, about $40. I was like, you spent $40 on a gift for a friend? Hold up. No. Where'd you get his money from? My mom was like, well, I gotta give him a budget because his friends they give good gifts too, and I don't want I was like, yo, I'm just right. But a child is only asking for what they see other people have and what they believe they need, right? And children will never understand what you're sacrificing for it. I'll never forget. I was working. I worked like 5 straight call nights around Christmas time, and it was Christmas Eve, and I was working at the State Mental Hospital. And I got on the elevator with a guy, and I said, man, our kids will never appreciate how hard we work to give them a good Christmas.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and he says, and they'll never care. Because it's not inherent on the kid, right? If you're frustrated that kid cost you too much money, you did something to likely produce that kid to be in there, right? Now I know sometimes people listen, or at least you said, hey, I'm taking this child on as a responsibility. So we have to set realistic expectations for them too, because some of the times the children are given unrealistic expectations, and one of the stresses a lot of parents go through is trying to fulfill those expectations for children, right?
Yeah.
I see parents, man, they don't have any type of savings, but the kid wants the Jordans, and you're gonna go buy the Jordans, and then you wonder why you stressed because you got to go. Some people got to go and say, hey, I got to go make this money this weekend. I got a lot of people I know, man. It's Saturday afternoon. They saying, I got to get this bill paid by Monday. I got to go out here and get it. I got to take extra shifts. I got to do other things. And some of those things ain't got nothing to do with shifts, right? It's like, you put that kind of tension and stress on yourself, you're going to burn out. Or get yourself caught up in something that may take you out of your home for a while. And then you're no longer there when you're present, right? You got to be a strong man. You got to be present. You got to take care of yourself if you're going to protect other people. And lots of men don't even think about self-care, right? I used to pride myself on never taking time off, right? I could knock this stuff out. Here's the problem, though. If you're not taking the rest you need, you're going to just crumble. And they're giving you paid time off for a reason. So I implemented this too, and it's important. I take 3 breaks during the day. I take a 15-minute break in the morning, my 30-minute break during my lunchtime, 15-minute break in the afternoon. Every month or so, if I need a day off, I take a day off. Sometimes I'll just schedule a day off, right? And every 3 months, I try to take maybe 2 or 3 days off. If I can get together and save enough time, I try. But you want to give yourself periodic breaks. Don't believe in this hype of somehow I got to work 7 days a week. And you got these mantras we hear about, if you don't work 7 days a week, the one day you off is the day you're going to lose. Lose what? Right? Get you some sleep. Rest up. Take those 15-minute breaks. Refresh yourself, right? Fresh water, fresh air, fresh food. Sometimes going for a little walk. Take that 15 minutes. Get away from the computer. You'll find that your energy level stays up. Take your lunch break. Move away from your desk. Matter of fact, leave the building. You don't want to hear all that trash, everybody talking in the building, man. Go outside. Take the same thing in the afternoon and then leave at a reasonable time so that you can spend time with your family. You can decompress in the car so that when you get home, you can actually give them the love and the affection and support they need so that you can be that father that truly provides, right? I provide more than money. I provide support. I provide care, right? I provide a listening ear. I provide guidance. Because if you're not there as a man giving them that guidance, they're going to get that guidance from people who don't know anything of what they're talking about. Right? And then now you got a big problem.
Yeah.
You got division in your home. You're trying to go out there to provide for it, but you're not providing the security and the safety they need. And, I reference this to men, but it also applies to the ladies. Right? You got to have your presence in the home too. I always say, though, that when a man's in the home, he's supposed to be the father who raises those children. We're supposed to teach our men how to be men, and we're supposed to teach our young ladies how a man's supposed to treat his lady by the way you treat your wife. And if you're not there and you're neglecting them, what are you teaching them? Right? And then they grow up to neglect their family.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we got to teach these lessons to each other, and we got to tell these lessons to our children, because we got to stop this pervasive thing to where we work hard, and then before we even get a chance to have the fruits of our labor, we're stuck with medical conditions and problems, or even worse, by the time we retire, something hits us big, and all of a sudden, we only spent this much time enjoying it. You got to make sure as you go through this life that you enjoy the whole process. That's why it's important to take those breaks, right? Hey, man, sometimes I had money to take my kids down to Florida. Sometimes I took my kids to Myrtle Beach. And you know what? Kid doesn't care.
Yeah.
What that kid's going to remember is that they spent their time laughing, playing with a father who was happy and cherishing the moments with them. They're not going to care about, you got these parents, they ain't got to go to Disney, right? What they need is to be able to smile and laugh and see you and remember those things. And just a brief note, while I got to say is, if you're out there taking your kids' place over summer, make sure your kids know how to swim. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, one of the number one reasons for people for unnecessary deaths in children 0 to 3, I think somewhere like number 2, and then children from 4 and above, 19. Very big problem. We'll take kids to, you got people who say they're gonna go take their kids somewhere and look for a place with a pool, but they know that kid can't swim and the kid can drown in just 2 tablespoons of water, is how the commercial used to say it. So also take your kids and teach them how to swim. That's great things you can do with your kids. Spend time with them. All right, I take mine to the gym, take them bowling, teach them things how to do that don't involve money. Teach them how to play spades, gin rummy, tunk. Right? Dabble. Right? These kids don't know these things anymore, man.
Yeah.
Our parents used to do that with us every Friday night. That was family time. That was my dad being a strong man, being home. Right? Those are lessons.
So would you say that one of the causes of burnout is simply lack of presence? Like, you just,
what we say, financial, but also what? Your relationships, your commitments, right? Those things are important. I mean, you have people who, I want you to think about like this. If you're not present and everybody else is starting to have issues, what is it going to feel like when you leave your home and when you leave your workplace and actually come home, right? All of a sudden, the tension and stuff is so stressed. Some men then decide, I just ain't coming home.
Yeah.
Right. And then they get caught up in those streets with other things that are calling their attention. And now I'm trying to maintain all these things going on. I got some people I got to please here. I got some people I got to keep fed over here. I got to show up at work on time and keep a good face here. Where's the activity? Where's the rest? Where's the going to church? Where's the script? Where's those things that you need? Well, you ain't got them. Right. And so how we build up, so we have to take back and make sure you got this mind state of somehow defining yourself by how much money you make. Right. Or your title.
Yeah. Your net worth isn't your self-worth.
Hey man, someone asked my wife one time how it felt to be married to Dr. Murphy. She said, I know him, he was just Mike. And I'm still the same me. Right.
Yeah.
And so, we're not any bigger to our families when we've achieved certain things. Right.
That's the truth.
Right? Hey, they don't even pay much more attention, man. The Bible tell you, man, a prophet is not without honor except in his own home amongst his own people. Hey, man, my kids think I don't know anything because, well, they get this for free.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Hey, my 25-year-old daughter, she appreciates me a lot more now. My 13-year-old, Dad's saying something, but he don't really. We the only people sometimes that want to shun the knowledge passed on from the generation because we feel like they didn't accomplish enough. That can be a form of self-hate, but people don't always look at it in that sense, man. Like, they can't teach me nothing. They didn't accomplish nothing. You got to remember what challenges and situations and circumstances they were over. And that's why I say we don't blame people for why we don't have the financial literacy and all those things we have to. We got to remember that sometimes some of our parents are just trying to survive.
Yeah.
Right. And that's you got to understand that, because if not, then you buy into this whole idea that somehow we're behind where we shouldn't be. No, man. We're in the process of learning. Some of us only 1 or 2 generations from a hell that that society wants to try to erase. My grandma marched with Martin Luther King, right? My dad was in the military during the 60s riots, right? But the world wants to tell you this is so far away from our past that we should be in a much better place now. And that's a lie that we can buy into that can sometimes fuel that workaholic mentality that leads to the burnout.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a reason we struggle more. And we also find ourselves always trying to take care of other people too. And we have to be mindful. Take care of yourself. Here's what you do in the flight. Flight says this. If the cabin pressure goes down, grab your mask first and then assist others.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's that self-care. That's that let me put on what I need to put on so that I can take care of myself, so I can put myself in a situation where I can be the best me, knowing that the best me can better take care of you. And so self-care isn't selfish, and we're taught it's selfish, right? You know, catch yourself napping on a Saturday, man. Oh man, you must be lazy. No, I'm actively resting so that I can get up and do the things I got to do. But we don't look like it like that. We have to think rest is an active process. It's a spiritual principle. It all goes back to spirituality, right?
Yes.
Maintaining healthy relationships, taking care of ourselves, listening to biblical principles, having rest, as you mentioned, trying to stick to the first wife if you can, right? If it's too late, hey, when you stick to another one, stick with her, right? They don't get any cheaper as you move through. They just take 50% or less of you.
Yeah, that's good.
Divorce too, now you're a quarter what you used to be, man.
Hey, just don't buy a new car with it.
Hey, man, you can't buy a new car with it, right? You know, I tell you what, and this is I found to be true. If you want to see what a person didn't have growing up, see what they got too much of now.
Yes. Yes.
And one thing that a lot of Black men, particularly in the 40s, 50s, 60s, grew up with was not having a car.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, at least if they had a car, not having a car, they could, was like, ooh, right? And so it's not lost on us then that we tend to overpay for cars that are flashy.
Yeah.
And then constantly then we need to make them even flashier. Or worse off, okay, I've had this for a year now, 2 years. I need to go trade this in and get me a new one. I ain't even paid this one off. We'll convince ourselves of why that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. Hell, someone sold it to us and we rationalize anything. No, we justify anything we do before we do it. So we don't have to go back over it. We can ask ourselves how we justify it to it, but don't ever tell somebody, I don't know why I did it. Hell, you told yourself why you did it when you did it. Now, you may not have been honest with yourself about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And remember this, God doesn't bless you with anything you can't afford to keep.
Yeah.
Right? Many people go out there and they take on debt and they see it as a blessing. Right? I just got blessed with a new car. But you're paying payments on that. Can you make them payments? If not, you may need to shoot for a lesser blessing. Right? Not a lesser God, but a lesser blessing. We have to be careful how we talk to ourselves and understand too that certain things are liabilities, certain things are assets. You'll never see your time with your family as a liability. Right? I've never been to a funeral and heard somebody say, I wish I had spent less time with my parents.
True.
Right? And so as men, we need to make sure, and women, take care of your health. Understand how you can become more efficient in making the money so that you don't find yourself as stressed about it. Make sure that you are putting your spirituality, your connection to God, God's creations, your families, your friends, your pets, nature. God created all this. Mm-hmm. We have to right size our relationships. Make sure you're taking care of your physical health, eating appropriately, trying to get in some exercise, sleeping, right? Rest is a spiritual and a physical component, but it's also important for mental health because most psychiatric issues will have an element of sleep involved. Right? Depressed person can't sleep, anxious person can't sleep, someone jonesing for something can't sleep, a psychotic person will struggle, somebody who's manic. And even when a person is sleeping when they're depressed, they may find that they sleep, but they're not rested. So they wake up fatigued and tired despite sleeping all the time.
Yeah, because you said a few things like, okay, you sleep, but you're not resting.
Right.
It's like you're burning energy, but you're not burning calories. Man, the duality of that, just, man, that's so interesting, but it's so true at the same time.
But you got to think of it in components of brief. I know we have a minute. Think about sleep cycle, right? So a sleep cycle is about 90 minutes, right? 60 minutes to 90 minutes. You only get real good rest in that third or fourth stage of sleep, right? That's when you get that real good rest. First cycle after you go through, you don't always have to go through the cycle of one again. You jump to like 2, then 3, 4. Right? More time you spend in 3 or 4, that's when you get your deep sleep, your rest. Now at night, your brain has this janitorial system that comes through and cleans out your brain, takes away all the gunk and the waste and things and takes it away, but it only works at night. So when you're not getting that deep sleep, those things build up. Those things can later on form plaques of things such as Alzheimer's, right? So you're getting that gunk. It's messing up your highway. Now, if you are not getting adequate sleep, you're not going to feel rested enough for the day. And when we're not rested, we do what our body tells us to do to get energy. We eat. We find ourselves, too, not getting the physical activity to regulate things. Our health can significantly decline. Just getting 5 or 6 hours of sleep a night could be a world of difference. I slept off 4 hours of sleep for years. And I've convinced myself, man, I can get by on this. And yeah, you can get by, but are you actually functioning optimal? And the answer was no. In addition, the occasional power nap, getting those rest, important. That's when you can get by with that first stage of sleep. But remember this, you don't have to go and take a whole nap. The goal is not to sleep. The goal is to put yourself in a deepened state of rest.
Okay.
Right? So, there are techniques you can learn. Deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, things that you could do in your office 10, 15 minutes, have you rested through the day. But these are things we have to go out there and we have to teach to each other. We have to learn these things. And then more importantly, we have to apply the information that we know. Because I can tell you all the things you can do to not get there. But that's inherent on you to take that knowledge and run with it.
Yeah.
And trust that these are the things that will be protective. Because I don't want to see anybody have to go through this. Too many people do, and too many people are going through it at a younger age. Matter of fact, you got half of us are saying we're burned out. But then, you look at the younger children and the younger kids, and they're getting even worse of a situation. That can be a lot of factors, though, right? They didn't grow up in the same type of system. They went through the COVID years, through high school and college and things of that nature. So even out there being within the workplace and having to deal with that becomes dysfunctional. Not to mention a lot of them do their communication through this.
Yeah.
So, me and I, you and I at that age, I can look you right in the eye and tell you exactly how I feel about you, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You look at these kids and you tell them the same thing. All of a sudden, you're seeing us harassing them because they're not used to having that type of direct contact. And also, too, there's certain levels of respect that are certain things that help to maintain a certain level of decorum in office spaces. There's lots of boundaries and violation issues that can occur in times. And so this generation is sort of struggling even worse than the previous generation. And they're probably more inclined to quit, too. Right? And not to mention, they're living in a world where the cost of living is much higher.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The cost of living is not going up with the income. The entry-level income, man, even if the entry-level income doubled, that doesn't help you if prices go up 5 times. Right? When I was in college, a Whopper was 99 cents.
Oh,
I felt like it was a rip-off then.
Right? Oh man. Don't get me started on that. Because when you were saying you could tell how somebody lived in the past or in the childhood by the things that they probably have too much of now. That's something that I always think about. Like in my mind, it's that lack and that desire created. Well, you defined it as value, and then now in the future, you probably put too much emphasis on this. Because I remember in college, man, especially with food, I was buying so much food, So I remember my mom would look at my bank statement and just be like, Tino, you just spent $15 at Burger King, $20 at Subway.
Hey, $15 is a lot of money at Burger King back then, homie. You was doing it up.
Yes, yes.
You was getting the meals.
The meal, like, hey, let me get the large with the fries and a little thing on the side and a drink. Yeah, it was bad.
Well, what happens is this. A person doesn't have something. And then they say to themselves, when I get older, I'm never going to feel like this again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And instead of focusing on how they can change their feelings about not having something they want at that time, they instead think that the material thing is going to somehow substitute and allow them to always have that feeling.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, right? And so you got all these things now. The value of them go down and the emotional value goes down as well, because trust me, you will have something else that you will feel just as miserable and insecure about pop up at some way, shape, or form in your life.
Yeah.
And so if I can learn to now not allow myself to attach too much emotion to the material aspect in the first place, then I can put myself in a much healthier space, one that allows me to have a sense of gratitude for what I got, not always chasing what I believe is going to give me something emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't really buy an emotion, right? You can rent one, but you don't own that emotion. Trust me, something bad happened, that emotion gonna change.
Gone.
Right?
Oh man. Oh man. I'm having flashbacks, to my life when I was thinking about, all the money that I spent putting value in things that if I really put more value in myself, I would have had more money earlier. And yeah, I would have had less things, but then I realized those things that I had, I don't even really have them now.
Man, I got stuff now. I got an extra set of Bose 900s upstairs. Like, first of all, who needs an extra set of speakers, right? We can't help. I love my album collection. I'll say I'd keep that, but I think what we do is we have this idea that, another mind state though. We had the idea that the material is going to get us, but then don't we love to get something on sale?
Yeah.
Ooh, man. Go to an estate sale, right? Don't go. It can be addictive, trust me. But it teaches you a lot of things. One, it teaches you this: your children don't want your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll sell it to someone who is willing to take it off of their hands and get it out that building as fast as possible.
Yes.
Right. Your children don't want your clothes. Right. I once went to a man's estate sale. It was a doctor. I'll never forget, because it was a week after I brought my Benz. And I go to this guy's house, and there were 3 Mercedes Benz in the front yard, all S500s, like a 1992, 1997, and a 2000.
Okay.
It's around 2007. I said, I don't know what kind of relationship this man had with his kids, but to not want a Mercedes? I could have brought one of those. I could have. That just tells you, man. That material stuff is not going to bring you the satisfaction that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But man, what kind of relationship do you have? And you could tell that the man had gotten sick because of the things that were there. Right. Adult diapers, things like that let you know someone's going through an illness. And I couldn't help but say to myself, man, this didn't seem, it was just something about the experience. Right. And I just lost my father in August. Right? I say just lost him. It's been a year. It's crazy how it goes by quickly. Those are the things that you remember. The time, the relationships. He taught me this. My dad had way more clothes than he ever needed because he grew up poor. Right? I'm pretty sure if you like me, man, I had an uncle, man, had stacks of clothes in his room. You go to an estate sale, you'll see lots of people, tons of clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They didn't have certain things. Those things will not bring you joy. But man, come home and hug your kids, spend time with your kids, have fun. Me and my son, I schedule that too. And I think that's important for every father to do. Schedule some time with your wife, schedule some time, make a date with your wife. Man, sometimes all we do is go out on the back porch and have a cup of coffee and eat a dessert or something. Watch a movie. We also have time to wake up every morning. We have 30 minutes of coffee time before I start my day. It's a chance to meet with your spouse. Make sure you're spending that time getting to know people, because what happens too when you're a workaholic, you're out of the loop. And as she may be required to do more of your duties in the home, and you out here, y'all can grow apart. Mm-hmm. And no marriage is safe. You see people getting divorced after 25, 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
We grow apart. We only grow apart if we're not in the same place together at the same time, going through the same thing. I can't grow apart from you when I'm with you all the time. I can't grow apart from you if we're here on this consistent basis and we're having conversations about our interests and what we're excited about, the things that we need to do together. But I can definitely grow apart from you if you're here having to do one thing and I'm spending all my time somewhere else. Right? That's the presence of a strong man. Strong man to have a strong marriage.
Yeah, man. I appreciate this conversation because, I came into it thinking about burnout one way, just kind of like, just overworked and whatnot. But now I'm thinking about it in a different way where it's really about presence.
Because part of the burnout is you spending all your time at work.
Yeah.
Right? What? Hey. You spend all your time at work.
Mm-hmm.
You're absent.
Yeah.
You're not taking care of yourself. You're not taking care of your home. You're not taking care of your spiritual life, your physical life. You're only focused on the financial, or sometimes because you have decided you're going to spread your presence into everything with such an intensity, you've given all you got. Right?
Yeah.
Remember this, it doesn't have to be bad things. We say it can be work, but it can be other things. Some people burn themselves out because they have emotional needs that they think are only going to be fulfilled through relationships. And so now my whole day is blown because I'm spending my time trying to figure out what's going on. How many times you been at work and you got coworkers, they spend all their time on the phone with their spouse, their girlfriend, all this other type of stuff. They then they worry, then they wonder why they ain't getting their stuff done at work and why they falling behind and why they getting the word evaluations and all these type of things. Well, where's your balance? Right? You spend too much time on your relationships that you're not taking care of your business. Right?
Yeah.
Those are real or worse. You have a guy who feels like his self-esteem comes from having multiple relationships. Right? So now he's trying to run around town and do his work and do this. Gonna have tension, stress. Hey, we've seen this happen to men, generation above us, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know them because they got the new car. Right? You gotta have your money right to do that.
Oh man.
But no, man, never think of it in one sector, because it's never one sector and it's never one cause. And the biggest thing we can do is recognize that this is a systemic issue with generational ramifications. And if we put in that, we begin to understand how important it is for us to have appropriate self-care. Mm-hmm. And so I want to encourage you, man, also see your doctors, have a primary care doctor. If you're over 40 and you ain't seen a primary care doctor, one, you're setting yourself up. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know most of us men don't get primary care doctors until we get married, right? Because now someone has a vested interest in keeping you alive, right?
Yeah.
And that's important. You want to have a primary care doctor. You want to know what health risk factors you want. You want to know your family history of illnesses, because remember that family history means that the people with the same genetic makeup and the same behaviors and diet that you have, these are the things that they became susceptible to. And so knowing those things are important.
Man.
Right?
Man, Dr. Murphy, I know we got to do this again. I know we coming up on an hour, but man, you got my gears turning, and we'll be here for another 2-3 hours. So I'll ask this of you.
Sure.
What is like one, because I know you talked about taking the breaks
right
throughout the day. Give people, just remind them of like some little things that they could do
sure
throughout the day, and then let them know where they could find you, reach out to you, get in contact with you, things like that.
Cool. So when you talk about things you can do on a day-to-day basis to help prevent burnout, we talk mental, physical, spiritual, financial health. Spiritual, start your day off with prayer. Right? Begin by asking God for the strength you need to make it through your day. Right? Take some time to de-stress in the morning. Right? Schedule your day such that you give yourself the adequate time to get where you got to go so you don't feel frustrated, agitated when you get there. Take control of that commute. Put on some nice music that puts you in the right mood. If you work from home, and I've been privileged to do that, go outside and spend a little time out in nature, a little fresh air, a little music before you start your day. Get some physical activity in, right? If you can work out in the morning, work out in the morning, even if it's just going for a nice walk, 15, 20 minutes, you need 30 minutes 3 times a week. Have some stretching or some type of routine. You want to have a good morning routine to help get you de-escalated so you go through your day. And in that time, you also recognize you're putting in self-care. Throughout your day, take a break. 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the afternoon. During that time, refresh yourself with fresh air, fresh water. Get outside of a little activity. Remove yourself from that computer. Make sure you take your lunch break. Hopefully part of your morning routine, or really your nighttime routine, is about packing you a healthy lunch so that you have good, healthy alternatives and snacks throughout the day so that you can monitor what you're putting in your body to ensure that you're giving yourself the fuel that's going to keep you going so that you don't rely on too much caffeine, sugar, or let's be honest, a little nicotine to get you going through the day when your energy low on reserves. Begin with those things. Try to de-escalate. And we talked about the importance of having a schedule. Schedule time for yourself, schedule time for your family, schedule time for the activity and the preparation necessary. We talked about the importance of prioritizing self-care, which includes rest, which is a spiritual principle. All goes back to spiritual. Remember this, your spirit has your best interest at heart. There's certain things your body going to tell you should do that you shouldn't, and your mind will co-sign on it if it feels good. But your spirit will always have your best interest. Make sure you take adequate time off when you need. And when you do those types of things, you'll find that you're preventing yourself from having burnout. And these are the little things you begin with during the day. In addition, take the time to get some financial literacy. Because many times it's not that we need to give it more effort. We need to become more efficient in how we manage and budget our time and our money. And if you can learn to get your money to make money when you're resting, then you'll find a way to sleep a little bit more at ease.
That's the truth.
Right? And I think those are the techniques I would tell anybody. So I wish y'all the best on your journey, because we need to make sure we support each other in this. Mm-hmm. And if you believe you could benefit from learning things that will help you to ascend to your highest level of mental, physical, and spiritual wellness, you can follow me on TikTok. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm Dr. Michael Anthony Murphy. In addition, I just started my website, Leo Ascension, and we'll be pouring some information into that. But I'll remind people, I don't post for likes. I post because I want to allow my son to have a fortress of solitude like Superman. A digital outprint where he can come to whenever he's in time of need or worried about what his dad would tell him. A place where he could go to and get the knowledge and the information at a time that will exist far beyond I'm here. Right? And that's important to me. So the information I give is information I believe you could benefit from, but also that your children could listen to as well. Right? It's lessons in empowering and overcoming. So be on the lookout, because I also have a Leo Ascension on YouTube. So if you're worried about your kids going to social media, many of them can go to YouTube, same post, because I post the appropriate material, right? I post because my mama sees these things. right? Right? That's important to me. Right? I post because God tells us that, we should not let unwholesome words come out of our mouths, but only what is useful for helping those who could benefit from these things, right? That's important. And so that's what you're going to get. I encourage you to follow along on this ride, because I plan on being here for the long haul. I think I have a lot to bring to the table. And I appreciate you, Commissioner, for giving me the opportunity to speak out to individuals out there, man. And we'll see where this goes.
Man, Dr. Murphy, I appreciate you coming on. I got a lot out of it myself. I'm over here was just taking notes while you were talking.
You got the tape, baby. Yeah, and I want to say too.
Yeah. So we're gonna get this out to the people. It's definitely gonna be something that helps a lot of people. And then we gotta definitely continue the conversation, bring you back on, because man, I know there is just a wealth of wisdom that you got, and as long as we stick together, we'll be able to help the community. A rising tide raises all ships is how I think about it.
I love that, man.
I appreciate you. And with that, we're gonna close it out. For those who again follow Dr. Murphy, get that wisdom. Make sure you're being present. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you everything, man. Just be present. Get that rest. All of those good tips and nuggets. And with that, we're gonna end it. And y'all just have a great day. Bye bye.
God bless y'all. Peace.